Hello, hello, YouTube. My goodness, did you see that stamina bar? I know you saw the critical. That was nice and all, but did you see how much stamina I had in that clip? My goodness, I had a lot of stamina. I was able to block a hit with a medium shield, and I didn't have my guard broken. Why? Because of the giant green bar on the screen. Howdy, YouTube. How are you doing? I had an idea many, many moons ago, probably months ago now, and I wanted to come up with a cockroach build. I wanted to use the Royal Remains armor, I wanted to use the Twin Bird Kite Shield, I wanted to use the red and blue sword branch talismans, all the things that make you tanky, maybe even use Holy Ground, get that regen, get that high defense, especially in a pinch, and then people made videos on it and it was used to great effect to bully people under level 40, it felt like. And I went, oh, rats, I was even going to call it the cockroach build. Of course somebody else would come up with that. I was too slow. Now, you don't have to believe me. That's fine. That's not the point. But then I thought, well, I wanted to do a knight build who had a lot of endurance, right? A lot of endurance. Enough that you could have the knight armor, and then you could light roll. I've never played with light roll. I wanted to see what it was like. I know I detest playing against people of light roll. It's in the game. I wanted to experience it at least once. And then I thought, well, why don't I blend the ideas a little bit? Why don't we blend some of the aspects of the cockroach along with the basic sword and board knight? And so this awful build was born. And the build, it was interesting to play. I would say fun, and there are aspects of it that are fun, that are very good, but at the end of the day, you have like 44 poise, which is bad. I wouldn't recommend 44 poise. In fact, I don't like dropping below 51. Heck, I don't like dropping below 70 if I can help it. So I made some alterations to the build, blended some ideas. We're wearing the Royal Remains armor, we got the Twin Bird Kite Shield, we have the blue branch sword talisman on us, and it's interesting to say the least. Because you don't have the poise necessary to make trades with people, even if you did have a weapon that had hyper armor, for instance, you run into a problem of you're playing more evasive. And of course, if you were playing evasive and light rolling, people get upset at you. It felt like people were playing meaner as a consequence. My natural absorptions are lower, lighter weight weapons can bully me more easily as a consequence. And so now I understand why it feels like anyone who light rolls, it feels like they're playing cowardly. And it's, well, because they can't really poise through anything you've got. And then when they do get hit, they lose a lot of HP. It makes a lot of sense. I now understand with greater admiration those fellows who can quickly swap their normal armor set to the Royal Remains set for that tasty regeneration under 20% health. And in case you weren't in the know, the Royal Remains set, the Twin Bird Kite Shield, and the blue and red sword branch talismans, all of those items have passive effects that activate when you are under 20% HP. It might be more particular, like 18%, I don't quite recall. But the Royal Remains set gives you pretty good HP regen, and it stacks with each piece of the set you are wearing. The Twin Bird Kite Shield and the blue branch talisman buff your defenses a good amount when you're under 20%, and then of course the red branch sword talisman, if I had used it, would have buffed my damage if I was under 20% health. So all of those many options equaled a build that made me bend my mind a little bit to compensate for the many tools everybody had. Did you see that? I used the map. I lured them into the room so that I could separate the spell spam and wizard from his host, and it worked out quite well. So another notch in the belt, another coin in the jar of know the map better than your opponent. It could very well save your life. So would I recommend this build to you? Maybe not. Maybe because light rolling feels dirty. Oh, did you see that parry? Oh, I love being able to block somebody and immediately go into a parry. Feels so good. I think he thought he was dead and didn't do anything at the end there, which feels bad, but hey, I felt nice. I got a dopamine rush out of that, so that person deserves my thanks. back onto the topic at hand, would I recommend this build to you? Maybe not. Light rolling feels dirty. It feels like it still needs tuning. If somebody can roll twice and they don't get roll caught after the first roll, they're out of there. It was very easy to escape situations, and I suppose that would be true to any cockroach, right? Very durable, surprisingly durable, scuttles away, hard to catch. And that's exactly what the build does to great effect. It's a dexterity build after the stamina, of course. That's where our damage comes from, because unfortunately there are no endurance scaling weapons. Ridiculous as that idea sounds. And so you have a little bit of dexterity. It's not optimal, but you got like 55, and then you have just a smidge of strength, just enough to wield some weapons two-handed and some weapons one-handed. You have like 10 points of or 10 units of weight. It might be a little more. It might be like 10 and a half, maybe 11. I think it's like 10 and a half or something like that. You have 10 and a half units to play with your weapons until you're no longer light rolling, and then you're just medium rolling and you have all this weight that you're wasting. But that is the nice thing, is that you could technically go over your threshold of weight and you still have medium rolls instead of fat rolls should you need something for a moment, you know, a swap for some attack or what have you. And then you can just remove those items from your bar to get your light rolls back. So that is a pro that comes with that. Some of you are shaking your heads and just groaning and going, that's not an endurance build. This is just a light roll build. And you know what, dear viewer? You're right. I'm sorry. It is essentially a light roll build with a patina of very high defense when your health gets very low. The problem is that the lethality is so high at this level that sometimes you don't make it to that point. Sometimes you don't make it to that threshold. But during the times where you do make it to that threshold, it's quite easy to get away, reset, and fix everything. And you can survive an awful lot in that low amount of health. Take this exchange in front of you. The guy absolutely clobbers me, does huge damage. He deserves the win through and through. But the cockroach build can bide their time, find an opening, whiff punish, whatever you want, or just zap them when they're not paying attention, and you can eke out victories you wouldn't otherwise have. It feels scummy, but it works. I don't think I'll be returning to a light roll build anytime soon. I felt too morally compromised, we'll say. And that's not to say there isn't a point to it, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have light rolls on your build. Do what you want. It is a video game. Have some fun with it. And I did have fun, I will admit. Though I missed my poise too much to want to do this regularly by any means. Me and poise, we're like this. You can't see it, I'm crossing my fingers like some idiot child, but that's okay. The build overall lent itself to, or rather it encouraged me to be far more passive in my playstyle, since trading wasn't really much of an option unless I knew that other guy was gonna die first. I did feel like I got interrupted far more often, and small weapons were just as much of a threat for staggering me and interrupting me as much as big weapons are normally. So it's a very different way of playing the game. And having the big stamina bar was very helpful. You could sprint for ages, you can roll for ages, you can block things with a medium shield that you wouldn't dare to because your stamina compensates a little bit for having lower guard boost. If I could have everything I wanted for a build like this, I probably would have had the Banished Knight shield, but it was just too heavy and it didn't give me the passive I wanted. So if you want to call me a talentless hack or something like that for playing a light roll build, you're absolutely correct. But my perspective did widen a good deal, and now I understand why. The why behind the light roll build, because there is an alert to it. Absolutely, you can escape situations. You have to be avoidant because your armor won't compensate for both your poise or your absorption in any means. And, you know, you use so much endurance, at least at a meta level, to light roll if you want even just the lightest of metal armor. So in summation, without condemning or condoning, I now understand. There's something else important you lose when you decide to use light rolls. For one, my spacing was all over the place and I felt like I was rolling extra to compensate. When you're used to medium rolls and use medium rolls for everything, as you probably should, you understand the distance it goes a little better. You understand when you can roll past a move and get a backstab, when it's, you know, when you can roll just the right amount to outspace an opponent, perhaps, to avoid some wide sweeping attack, you know. You understand your spacing and the distance between things far better than when you, of course, change up the distance at which it rolls. There were times where it felt like I needed to roll away once, and then I was too far away to properly re-engage. It was a double-edged sword in that sense. In terms of just pure escaping, of course, net gain, right? Escaping, getting out of there, wonderful. If you wanted to space behind somebody for a nice, tasty roll backstab or something like that, or maybe a roll attack to punish, who knows? It wasn't that easy. It was way too easy to roll past someone, actually, if you didn't directly collide with their character model. So, light rolls were a little unwieldy for somebody like me who's unpracticed, but I could totally see somebody who uses light rolls a lot be a total menace and be hated by everyone in the community. So, this build, all in all, is it good for invasions? It's acceptable. You can escape well, right? It definitely has that going for it. Duels? Maybe it's a little better for duels, though you might be better off in duels having a normal set of armor and then swapping to something like this. Maybe you pull out the light rolls when you need to be really avoidant, you know, just have a regular build that has a lot of endurance, and then swap to this armor set and pull out surprise light rolls. There's an idea that I don't have a big enough brain to pull off, but maybe you could do something with it, I don't know. At the same time, hate to encourage light rolls, but I want to explore more of the game's mechanics and see what's going on underneath the hood. It's very easy for all points to converge on what people consider meta. And while I consider it well and good to know what meta is so you understand what's good, so you can avoid its pitfalls and not get absolutely curb stomped by it, I don't want to adhere to meta all the time. I want to do different things. I want to enjoy new vistas within this wonderful canvas we've been given. And if this game truly is like the IKEA video games, I would like to show up and see something a little new, a little different every time I go, even if a lot of the core pieces seem somewhat familiar. Alright, I hope I have pontificated enough. I hope you have forgiven me once again for my grievous, and I keep committing those, it seems. I guess that's the human condition. We are meant to be a fallen people, in some sense of the word. I feel like perhaps I was a little too slow to explore all of the options this game had to offer, all the different builds and setups and all the different things that can possibly make up a build. And now that I'm actually doing it, now that I'm here and late to the party, it feels like there are things that are taboo and, you know, just cringe and not acceptable. And there are some things that are absolutely not acceptable, you know, using hacks to insta-kill people, the chainsaw move swap to just destroy people. In fact, many move swaps are not okay due to how easy it is to kill somebody with said move swap. There's probably cases where move swaps can be used for good, but overall they're a little too smarmy for me. Like, I don't know, using the chainsaw to mess with a hacker who has infinite HP, or maybe using it to kill an AFK farmer, you know, that's a little better. Or maybe using the move swap that lets you walk through the air to get to an inaccessible location because an AFK farmer has lodged themselves up there. Stuff like that, that's a little better, but if you're using it on regular Joe Schmoes, if you are doing something with the intent to grief, then that's a no-go for me. No-go at all. At the end of the day, I rather hope you were entertained. I hope you enjoyed the endurance build with way too many quotation marks around the word build or endurance, or maybe just the whole title. 51 endurance was no laughing matter. I mean, stamina management's always something I need to work on, but it's a little easier to manage when the bar is colossal. I mean, look at this. I can keep running, we can roll catch, we can get the swap, we can zap him to Kingdom Come, and you can enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye now.